So even if you're a dictator, a draconian dictator, you still have brains. You still have the best advisors money can buy. Use them and think through what you're doing. So let's start with Tanzania, and the latest development in the kidnapping of an individual called Mdude Nyagali, who's a harsh critic of the government of John Pombe Magufuli and a member of the main opposition party, Chadema. You will remember that Bwana Nyagali was kidnapped from his shop in the southern part of Tanzania at a place called Mbozi, in the Songwe area. And he went screaming and kicking, calling for help as this very heavily armed and masked men took him away in 2 vehicles. Well, God is good and God is great, because Mdude Nyagali has been found alive, abandoned in a bush near a village called Makwenje, in Western Bear, which is almost 200 kilometers away from where he was kidnapped. Predictably, he was tortured, and he can't even speak, and he has been rushed to hospital for treatment. And we wish him a quick recovery. But my point here is that this is not the first kidnapping that has taken place since the government of John Pombe Magufuli took over in 2015. There have been kidnappings, disappearances, bodies washed up from the ocean, and even high-profile attempted assassinations. Of course, I'm talking about opposition chief whip Tundu Lissu. And now it has become very obvious. Indeed, even when Mdude Nyagali was taken, it was obvious who had taken him. Everybody knew it was the government. Now, since President Magufuli took over, it was his policy to shut down the opposition. And he said so in several speeches. It was also his policy to gag the media. And several media houses have been shut down. Now, President Magufuli was elected by Tanzanians, although there are many who doubt his election. The opposition clearly said there was rigging, and there's plenty of evidence to suggest that. Anyway, he was elected, and so he has a right to make the policies he sees fit on behalf of the voters and indeed the entire country which elected him. However, did this man, who some call Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, because he has a PhD, did this man sit down and think through what he was doing? Did he take the time to simply ask, if he was not aware and if he didn't see, what happened to President Daniel Arap Moi when he practiced the same tactics in Kenya in the 80s and 90s? Because if President Magufuli had taken just a few minutes to analyze what has happened to other draconian dictators all over the continent, then he would have thought twice about his policies. With the advent of social media, the world has become a very tiny village. And Magufuli should know that he cannot get away with even a half the things Moi got away with in the 80s. Anybody would have told him that what he was attempting to do in Tanzania, what he has already done in Tanzania, would sooner or later catch up with him. Because as I make this video, nobody is talking about the way Magufuli has fought corruption in Tanzania very effectively. Very few people are talking about that. Indeed, the only people who are talking about that are his sycophants. Instead, what the voters are talking about in Tanzania are the kidnappings and killings of Tanzanians. And of course, the latest kidnapping is that of Mdude Nyagali, which happens now, just a few months to a presidential election in Tanzania. Yes, Tanzania going to the polls next year. Just a matter of months from today. Because we're already in the 5th month of the year 2019. We're in May 2019. Now, some naive person somewhere may ask me, Chris, what are you talking about? What does it matter what people are talking about? What matters is how people vote. Let me explain. And let me start with a simple example of something that happened right here in Kenya in the 80s. There's a man who was called General Retired Jackson Mlinge, a very development-minded Kenyan, and he was also very powerful, having served for decades as the Chief of General Staff, the head of the military in Kenya. And one day in the 80s, he vied for a parliamentary seat against the incumbent, a man called Paul Ngei, who had no development record to speak of. And during a campaign rally, he started pointing out to the people the development he had brought to the area. He said, you see this tarmac road? That's me. You see this and this development project? That's me. Do you know what people responded every time he mentioned his development projects? They responded in the Kamba dialect. They said, Osa. That means, take whatever development you brought to us. Take it with you. We don't need it, and we don't need you. That is politics. That is human nature. And obviously, this is not the first time it had happened. Neither is it going to be the last time it has happened in history. And therefore, I can see in Tanzania a very similar thing happening. Magufuli campaigning for re-election next year, and people telling him, your development, take it with you. Your SGR, pack it up and take it with you. We don't want you and we don't want your development. Why? Because you murder and you kidnap. Why? Because we are hungry. Investors have fled the country in droves as a result of Magufuli policies. Right now, the Tanzanian economy is going through the hardest bit it has ever gone through for decades. All the Tanzanians are saying even the Ujamaa days were better, because at least people had money in their pockets that had value. The problem was there were no goods or products to buy in the country. It is just mind-boggling that John Pombe Magufuli has been running Tanzania like a high school, like he's dealing with young students in a school, that he has to discipline and bend to his will, for a better Tanzania, according to him. What? How does that work? You tell me. How does that work? This is why, as we head to the polls in Tanzania next year, it's going to be super interesting. Of course, some will say the election results are obvious. They're already known today, because Magufuli controls everything. And he has even changed the laws. He has full control of the electoral body. He even has control of opposition parties, according to a recent bill passed, through the registrar of political parties, who is taking instructions from him. However, despite all that, and with Sudan still in our minds, what has happened in Sudan, it doesn't matter what you control. It doesn't matter whether you control the whole military, you control the electoral body, you control the opposition. That doesn't matter. If the people stand up and say, no, we don't want you, take your SGR and go away, take your development record and go away, take your so-called factories, because Magufuli promised factories, and the only factories we have seen developing in Tanzania are factories of corruption amongst traffic police, something which was never there before Magufuli. A brand new corruption industry. But apart from that, all investors, local and foreign, a vast majority of them, have left the country. And those still in the country have cut down on the expansion. Bottom line, even if Magufuli does a pop, and is a re-elected president next year, his second term, is going to grow very old, because he's going to be limping from crisis after crisis after crisis. And of course, all this is as a result of his policies. Period. Tanzanians are very peaceful people. They're very docile. They can take just about anything, from a draconian leader. However, when you start killing, when you start kidnapping, when you start attempting to assassinate opposition leaders, ngoja tu, utajua ujui. And that's not a threat. I'm simply pointing to what history tells me. I'm simply pointing to what human nature tells me.